Hello, hello, hello. I am Isaiah Wilder, and this is A Guy in His Closet. This is my podcast. I guess I'll talk about why I started it in a little bit, but in the meantime, I'll tell you about who I am a little bit, I guess. But I'm a black kid, 17, from Massachusetts. And I like talking to myself, so I figured I'd record it. I think I have a good episode for you guys today, if anybody's listening. Talk about Chance the Rapper's career, sort of. The responsibility that artists have today, or, just in general. Talk about defunding the police, controversial. We talk about some philosophy. We get into the coronavirus. Talk about slavery a little bit and the education in the country. Oh, we talk about the NBA a little bit. But yeah, those are about all the bases that we covered today. Hope you guys like it. You know what I don't get? The responsibilities of music artists. 'Cause there's just such a wide range of what they're supposed to be and what they're allowed to be in control of, and their responsibilities as an artist. The three that come to mind most that really are just good examples for the wide range are Russ, DJ Khaled, and Chance the Rapper. I just want to talk about Chance the Rapper because he just really irks me, and just thinking about his most recent album, ooh, oh, that really upsets me, man. That really upsets me. But anyways, let me just talk about Russ, for example. This dude, the past decade, has been yammering and yammering about how much stuff he does. He produces his own beats, mixes his own beats, engineers his own beats, and he just doesn't shut up about it. And everybody hates him because of it, which is fair because nobody likes anybody who just brags all the time about what they do, and he doesn't even do it that well. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna give him his credit. He makes good music, but go get some help. It's okay to ask for help. You have a team. You're capable of having a team now. You've been signed for years. Back off of it a little bit, you know. Now, the complete opposite end of the spectrum is DJ Khaled. What does this guy do? He doesn't do anything. He's just how can you succeed in music the way he does when there's a running gag about how you do nothing on your own songs? You don't produce the beats, you don't write the lyrics, you don't rap, you do nothing. Clearly he has to do something, or else he wouldn't be as rich as he is. He has to be a good businessman at the very least. But damn, how is he this big? It's astonishing to me. But Chance the Rapper, ooh, let me talk about Chance the Rapper. Chance the Rapper, he's very, very prideful about his lyrics, right? He's a good writer, love him. He's a great writer. He even has one of his earliest songs was about him and how good of a writer he is. It's called The Writer. Good song. Check it out. He's awesome. He's doing that, really on his grind. He doesn't produce his own beats. He helps. He's a musically inclined person. But for the most part, he usually just sticks to writing and rapping, right? And he gets his friends to produce the beats and stuff. He's a really inclusive kind of guy. He just he tries to bring people into his fold and try to get as many people to succeed as possible. And he doesn't really worry about being out rapped on his own songs, because to him it's just about making good music and making the best song possible, and that's really cool, right? That personality combined into 10 Day. 10 Day was a good first mixtape for an artist, It's really good. It's pretty good. It was a pretty good first one, Got him some buzz, got him onto a tour with Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, which really set him off into the stratosphere and allowed him to get the features on songs that he got for acid rap. Now, acid rap, amazing piece of work. It's one of the best mixtapes I've ever heard. I haven't heard that many, but it's a great mixtape nonetheless. Anyways, after he releases acid rap, Chance the Rapper releases Sunday and Coloring Book. Not at the same time, but you get the point. They're really good albums, blah blah blah, yada yada. Anyways, he's going on an upward trajectory, right? Everybody in the business is saying how in the next 10 years it's very easy to see him being atop the rap game, right? And music in general. Like he gave off that type of vibe that he was gonna like really be something, right? And independent and all that, he just had a good story, right? He started a little foundation, a charity, social work, shout out to that, helping his city, helped Kanye on The Life of Pablo. Ooh, that was amazing contributions by Chance the Rapper. Really helped that intro take off, right? A couple years go by, he starts releasing some singles, get some buzz for his next album. Might Need Security, 65th and Ingleside, Workout. There's a fourth one I'm forgetting. Those were great. I loved them. I was like going through a Chance the Rapper drought at the time, and they were just great singles. It was like a new sound for him, and I was like, ooh, this is what his new album and music is sounding like. This is great. This is great. And then he releases another single, The Man Who Has Everything, a couple months later, and I'm like, whoa, this is great too. I'm loving this. This is 2018 at this point. I'm loving this. Or the end of 2017, one of those. Or 2019, I don't know. Whenever he releases those stuff, doesn't really matter. But he releases those. Then the Super Bowl comes around, and he does this little halftime commercial, whatever thing with like NSYNC or Backstreet Boys or something, and it's like really corny. It's really corny, really cringy, really bad. But it's a Super Bowl commercial. Who cares? He was just goofing around. Blah blah blah. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Then he releases this other song called Groceries, right? I listened to it and I was like, wow, this is not good. But he attached it to like this campaign where he was promoting people to like asking people to post videos of them dancing to it, and he'd buy the groceries. And I was like, oh, that's a really good cause. I like that. Good for him. So I wrote it off. All the while he's like doing features, and his verses on these features are pretty good. So I'm letting it all slide. Really excited for this new album. It being bad never even crossed my mind. He struck the ball out of the park 3 times in a row for me, project-wise. 10-Day, Acid Rap, Coloring Book. Even like his little side thing with his band, Sunday. That was a great album. I love it. I listened to it. It's amazing. No Name's on it. No Name is awesome. Talk about her later on. Then The Big Day comes out, and I listened to it. I stayed up. I tried staying up, but like there were problems with it. It didn't come out right at 12, so I ended up like falling asleep because I was exhausted. I wake up, still not out. Came out at around 2, so I listened to it. First time goes around, and I'm like, these songs are a little difficult to listen to. Not that great. Not that great at all. But it must be me. Must be me. So I keep listening to it and listening to it. I was listening to it with my boy, Toby, my guy. And we were listening to it. We were trying to find like a little story for the album, because it's called The Big Day. You'd assume it would be about the day, you know? We thought it would be a narrative type of album. So we're listening to it, trying to connect the songs to different parts of the day and put them in an order. You know, we're listening to it just like, oh, this is the beginning of the day. He's really excited. Then he gets cold feet, sees his wife walking down the aisle. But like halfway through the album, it just starts dissolving, and like our whole theory is thrown out the window. And we're like, damn, that's just not a thing. So now we're thinking, wow, we only like seven songs on this at most. And I started thinking to myself, is this bad? And I just didn't want to believe it. I did not want to believe it. And then I started looking around Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, and the consensus is about the same. Nobody particularly enjoyed this project. And now I'm saying, what? No, it can't be it. It can't be bad. So I listened to it again, and I'm still, I can't find more than seven songs that I like on this album. And now I'm upset because this this guy, Chance the Rapper, I've been walking around saying that he's in my top five. And even before this album dropped, it was still a little weird saying he's in your top five because I mean, old white women like him, middle-aged moms like him. He's a little safe, but he was a good rapper. Made fun songs, that you could relate to. But now I have to add the caveat, like, this is old stuff. I like his old stuff. Oh, I hate it. I hate it. I need this guy to drop another album soon, one day, doesn't matter. I don't know. Just as long as it's average, just average. I'm good. I'm good. All is forgiven, all is well. Oof. If it's like good, if it's like a good album, like 7, 8, 9 even, I'm just gonna forget that the big day happened. Not gonna address it, never even gonna talk about it ever again. Because it's not important. We're just gonna sweep that under the rug. Like when Michael Jordan played with the Wizards, LeBron played against the Mavericks. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Didn't happen. Blah blah blah. La 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 la. But oh my god, if it's bad, if it's bad, if it's bad, please don't be bad. Please don't be bad. Chancellor, I know you're listening. Come on now. Come on. Come on. Please. I just want a good record. Please. Please. I want to be able to say your name in my top five and not be embarrassed. Okay? I'll still say it, because I mean, acid rap, amazing. One of my favorite projects ever, so I can't ever take you off. But God, it hurts. It hurts. Really hurts. Ugh. Alright, so, since I don't have any ads, because I ain't shit yet, I'm going to give you guys some tips instead. Tip number 1, when you wash your underwear, boxers, panties, whatever, don't put them in the dryer. You should air dry them, hang them up, so that they retain their elasticity. Alright, I guess I should talk about why I wanted to start a little podcast or whatever this is. For one, I just really like talking to myself, and also I want to like get people on here and have them talk about stuff that they're really into, and something that means a lot to them, because I noticed that when people talk about something that they have like a real deep interest for, their like enjoyment for it is contagious, And I noticed this when I was watching this like little sports video. Like it was a bunch of sports analysts or something. I was watching Ray Lewis, football player, played for the Ravens, defensive dude. He was talking about defense, right? And you could just feel how much he loved defense and thinking about it and watching film and playing it. Because like the way that he broke it down, the other team's offense and like what they wanted to do and how his defense was going to stop it, you could really see that like the way he thought about it was just on a different level compared to the casual fan and all the way up to the average player in the NFL. He really took it to like another level. And I at the time wasn't super interested in like football, but hearing him talk about it made me see it in like a whole different way. I just thought that was like really interesting. So I want to like share that feeling with as many people as possible. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to start doing this and talking to myself in my room at 4 o'clock in the morning. And another thing I really, really want to do with this is just talk about stuff that I like. I like a whole bunch of stuff that I don't feel like I get to talk about a bunch, but I think about it all the time. So if I'm thinking about it, I might as well talk about it, whatever I want, really, and whatever my guests want. Eventually, I'm going to have some friends on, talk to them, pick their brains about whatever is going on, whatever. Anything that they're interested in, they can come in, talk about it. Whatever I'm interested in, I'll tell them about it, tell you guys about it, everybody. Yeah, I just want to share information and joy, because even if you don't get why people enjoy something, hearing them talk about it can really explain that to you, and it's just it just feels nice, to like get why somebody likes something they like. It's nice. Whether or not that's sports, music, philosophy, politics, art. I'm gonna try and talk about like a little bit of everything on here. New books I get, new albums I'm listening to, any basketball games I watched over the weekend or whatever. Anything I saw that I just thought was pretty looking. Whatever I think is interesting I'll talk about on here. And open your mind to it. And hopefully I can bring some people on here who open my mind up to some new things and just widen my horizons, because there's just so much stuff in this world that a whole bunch of people never even find out about. And what if it's your favorite thing ever and you just don't know about it? Like what if you've never heard of Basquiat and he becomes your favorite artist? He's an amazing artist and you guys should look up his work if you haven't seen it. Or what if you've never read any of Maya Angelou's poems besides like A Caged Bird we all read in like 7th grade. Like what if you find one of those that you really like and just really connects with you? But there's like a whole bunch of things that you can find an interest for, and I'd love to be the one to bring it to your attention, because that's what it's all about, I guess. Widening horizons. The NBA is back. Finally. You know who else is back? The Celtics. Let's go. The Celtics aren't just back playing basketball. The Celtics are back winning basketball games. People really thought once Kyrie left, it was a rebuilding mode. No. Celtics will win a championship in the next 5 years. Mark my words. If I'm wrong, come back and shit on me for it. But I can promise you, the Celtics are the real deal. Also, the Phoenix Suns are on fire in the bubble. Absolutely torching the league. They're 7-0. Haven't lost a game. Devin Booker is going crazy, averaging like 30 points. Easily the MVP of the bubble. Apparently they're doing awards. He's definitely going to get MVP. Maybe Damian Lillard. I guess it depends like which team makes it to the playoffs. But dang, either one of them fully deserves it. And they really should have included these games when they were picking the all-team and the NBA, the season awards. Because these games mean, these last 8 games for the Blazers, Suns, Grizzlies, Pelicans mean way more than any other regular season game. Because you can really see how good their players are, how good their team is, how good their system is, how good their coaches are, because they're fully able to lock in and focus. Now, let's talk about Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, okay? Damian Lillard is going off in the bubble. Scored 62 points last night. He also scored 50 points the night before that, or the game before. I'm not sure if it was a back-to-back or not, but dang. Damian Lillard is crazy. And this is right after Paul George and Patrick Beverley started talking trash. After they were talking trash, he clapped back. He clapped back. After missing 2 free throws, they started waving at him. Haha, Dame time, right? You know what he says? You know how he responds? He says, yeah. I knocked out both of them in the playoffs, and I know it hurt them, and that's why they said that. It just shows how much respect they have for me and how much they expect out of me. And then it went online. They went back and forth, all in good fun. Paul George reached out to him, settled their little situation. It's all in good fun, competitive nature. They're athletes, professional athletes. They're very competitive, very, very competitive. Especially Patrick Beverley. He He's a nuisance. Absolute nuisance, asshole, dickhead, all of that. He's a dog, though, you know? You want him on your team. You hate him if he's not on your team. Every team needs one. Draymond. You know, the Grizzlies, talk about disappointment. I think they only won a single game in the bubble. Boy, that really sucks for Ja. I guess he's happy that they didn't really count these games for consideration in the awards because it really would have had an impact on whether or not he won Rookie of the Year. Because, hey, a big part of him beating Zion was the fact that the Grizzlies were in the playoffs, and he probably is not going to be in the playoffs because the Trailblazers went from, I think it was either the 9th or the 10th seed. Now they're in the 8th seed, and they're running that right now. It's all in their favor. But if they lose, and the Grizzlies lose, and San Antonio loses, it's all Suns. It's all Suns. The Suns got the 8th seed, and then it's over from there. Boy, the Suns, man. The Suns. I'm in love with the Suns. They came in, handled their business, didn't gloat, didn't whine when they were down. They were down by like, there was a couple games where they were like, where you know, you're watching the game and you're like, oh, streak's over. It's done. Then Devin Booker goes crazy, comes back, and they win the game. Devin Booker's going to be somebody. He is already leading the Phoenix Suns franchise in all-time 30-point games or 35-point games, something like that. He can score. He can really score. But enough about them. Back to my Celtics. You know, they started off a little cold. Jason Tatum had like single digits, I think, against the Bucks the first game. It's a little rusty the second game too, but you know, you could see. Nah, he wasn't rusty the second game. It was the third game he was a little rusty. They lost that game. Second game he was alright. Jaylen Brown has been playing consistently the entire time. Gordon Hayward's been good too. Kemba was coming off a minutes restriction, so that really affected the Celtics. But Jason Tatum, it's his team. It's really his team. Let me say this, the Celtics will go as far as Jason Tatum carries them. This year they may not win, probably won't win it all this year, but within 5 years, I promise, championship in Beantown, they're going to be running the East. Because if you watch that first game in the bubble, the Bucks were firing all cylinders. Good game. Jason Tatum was cold. Kemba was on a minutes restriction. It's a bad sign. That's a bad sign. They may not overcome the Bucks this year, but hey, this offseason, Danny Ainge is going to get some rim protection because that's what they need. Daniel Tice, good, solid piece, you know? But he needs some help at the very least. At the very least, he needs some help. He's just not equipped physically to deal with the bruisers in the East and the big man that they got. Joel Embiid, feast with the Celtics. Giannis will feast with the Celtics. And eventually, the Celtics have to worry about Kevin Durant coming back. He's a bad man. Celtics don't have anybody that can match up with him. Everybody that's fast enough, he's just going to shoot over. Everybody that's tall enough, he's just going to run right by. He's a problem. You have to figure that out. Anyways, that's enough about the Celtics. Oh man, TJ Warren is weird. The bubble's weird. Suns are undefeated. Lakers have the worst offense. Ooh, I haven't even talked about the Lakers or the Clippers. But y'all know about them. Hey! Yeah, still no ads. Still ain't shit.
Here's tip number 2.
When you feel like posting something political or divisive on your Instagram or Snapchat or any social media, but you don't want to because you don't want people to like hate you for it, you should first stop giving a shit. You're not doing it to get people to like you. Second, just make sure you know enough about the topic to have a conversation about it. And no, reposting somebody else talking about it is not good enough. say something about it. Okay, here's a topic that's like really important to me. The defund the police thing. People with a large amount of following who don't really understand the point of it spread a lot of misinformation about it. I feel like that's pretty dangerous, and it's unfair to the people who feel like they need to have this idea at the very least heard. Like me, for example, I feel like it's a really big problem in this country, and I feel like police brutality in general is a big problem in this country, and I feel like defunding the police would help the problem and really address some concerns in many communities. Now, the biggest misconception about it is that it gets twirled up with abolishing the police and the whole concept of law enforcement. Yeah, there are a few people who believe that, but for the most part, that's a very small minority, and it's insane to want that. Most people who are for defunding the police do not want to abolish the police. They do not want to get rid of the whole concept of law enforcement. What they want is a reallocation of funds and to diversify the role of police officers. Now, whether you hate or love, like, dislike cops, we can all agree that they are asked and expected to do way too much. They're expected to be in charge of all traffic violations. Any form of disruption, any form of public indecency, public, anything that occurs in public that is negative, that is not health related, or a fire, the police are expected to handle the problem. To be able to expect one person to be trained to effectively deal with all the problems that could arise when their job is that vague is insane, and you're setting them up to be undertrained. To help the problem, what I feel like a lot of people want is for there to be new division. A division, these are some ideas that me and my friend kicked around during an argument about the matter. There would be about four divisions. One specifically for traffic and parking violations. Speeding tickets, parking mess ups, stuff like that. There'd be a division solely for that. The next one would be responsible for any vandalism, noise complaints, stuff of that matter. The third one would be responsible for people having a mental episode, public intoxication, anybody who is clearly not in the right mind state, who could pose harm to themselves or others around them because of their intoxication or mental disorder or illness. The fourth unit, and I should add before I continue, the first three units, or at the very most the first two, would not have guns. That may be a little extreme, but we would be sending them into low danger situations, and it would lower tensions between police officers and people in the city. If you know that when you get pulled over, or if you get a noise complaint, or anything of that matter, you know that the guy showing up does not have a gun. So instantly your fear is a little lowered, which could lead to a better interaction between the two parties, which is what we want at the end of the day. I think we could all agree. Better relations between police officers and citizens that they're sworn to protect and serve is a good thing and we should work toward it. Now, will they have like pepper spray and tasers? Of course, but there's no place for them to have a firearm. Now, they may not have it on their person, but they may carry it around in their vehicle. But there's no need for them to have it on their person. Now, the fourth unit would be specially tasked with violent crimes, and they would carry guns on their person. Now, you may think that's, and this would also be the smallest unit. Only 5% of calls made to the police could be categorized as a violent crime. So, the unit tasked with dealing with violent crimes would clearly be smaller. Now, making it smaller increases the selectivity of said unit. You can prioritize skill instead of you can prioritize quality over quantity. Instead of just pumping out new cops every week, every month, you can really take your time, find good cops with good nerves to deal and handle guns in communities. Because we want the best officers to have guns. Because at the end of the day, their skill, know-how, intelligence is what can determine whether or not somebody lives or dies. So I would want, and I feel like many of us would, want the best possible person being forced into that decision. If death can be avoided, it should be avoided. And that's what every civilized society should believe. Alright, so if you sat through this up to this point, congratulations. You are great. Love you. But this might get, well, if the rest of it wasn't boring, this might just kill you. I'm going to be talking about philosophy. It is one of my favorite things to talk about. I love it so much. And at the moment, I am an absolute whore for Albert Camus. He is a great, great, great philosopher. He came up with the existential philosophy of absurdism. And oh boy, is it great. It's a great little explanation for why we're even on this planet. And it helps you figure out the meaning of life. I guess I should give a little background to the field before I talk about that. Absurdism sprouted as a reaction to existentialism, which was a reaction to nihilism, which was a reaction to this dude Kierkegaard. I'm not going to talk about that part because I don't know anything about it. Well, I mean, I do, but not enough to talk about it. But nihilism. Don't know who started it. But the point of it is, since there is no God, there is no point to do anything because the universe is going to end. So eventually, everything we do will just be gone, and there's nothing we can do about it. Tolstoy, the guy who wrote War and Peace, really grappled and wrestled with this for a while. He was really depressed. He has this quote about it that really messed him up. He just wondered, what meaning is there in life that isn't brushed away by death? It's not exactly what he said, but it was the point. Like, what can I do in my life that isn't like instantly made meaningless by my own death? Like if I'm like, oh, point of life is being happy. What if I just die? Then my whole point of living is gone. You know what I mean? It's anyways. After nihilism, people got a little depressed and they were like, nah, there has to be something. There's a reason we don't kill ourselves. So existentialism came about and people were like, oh, I can decide why I want to live. It sprouted off of this brand new idea that individual people were like important and you shouldn't just live to end up in heaven one day. So with existentialism came life became very subjective. It wasn't just work, have a kid, die, go to heaven. It was like, well, if heaven isn't real, why am I still here? Oh, I want to be happy. I want to find love. I want to create something. I want to be remembered. That's the point of my life. I want to do something, right? Now, Albert Camus saw this and he was like, no, 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 no. That's not good enough. And it wasn't just good enough. It wasn't like it wasn't good enough for him. He saw that as humans, we we have a problem with not having a definitive answer for things. So he looked around and he saw that we live in a universe that is devoid of inherent meaning. And as a species, we love finding meaning and giving meaning to things. So we're in a universe with no meaning, and we constantly crave it and look for it. And he says that it's absurd to look for meaning in a universe you are fully aware has no meaning in it. And that's, obviously where the phrase absurdism came from. This absurd need to look for meaning. Now, he said that there were three options to combat absurdism, right? Absurdism being the realization that we crave meaning and this universe has none. The three ways to combat that are physical suicide, kill yourself; spiritual suicide, believe in a afterlife; or you can accept the absurd. He compared accepting the absurd to the myth of Sisyphus. The myth of Sisyphus is this Greek tale, myth, whatever, about this guy. He did a whole lot of stuff. Sisyphus was an interesting guy, but the myth of Sisyphus, as it pertains to Albert Camus, was everybody knows it. They might not know the name, but this guy who was punished by the gods to constantly and forever, for the rest of eternity, push up a boulder, right? That's what his job is for the rest of time now. And once he gets to the top, the boulder just falls back down to the ground and he has to restart. Albert Camus saw this as the situation we are in now as humans. And he saw that if Sisyphus is able to just apply meaning, an inherent meaning and joy in pushing up this boulder, he effectively beats the gods. If he finds joy and meaning and value in pushing up this boulder that'll never rest at the top of the hill, his punishment is no longer a punishment and he wins. And this is what Camus says we must do in the universe. Physical and spiritual suicide are not the answer, he says. What we need to do is accept the absurd and live absurdly. Find meaning, inherent meaning, in your own life. Not just your life, just life in general. And if you do that, you win. You beat the universe. And you may be saying, isn't that just existentialism? Well, kind of. But there's a difference. I swear, I promise. There's a difference. To illustrate the difference, I made up an allegory. It's a fancy word for analogy. So my allegory goes a little like this. There are these three kids who walk in a class. There's Nyla, Xavier, and Abby. They walk into class on the first day of school and they sit down in the front row. Their teacher, Miss Kiki, introduces herself, talks to the kids, gets to know them, learn their names, blah blah blah, yada yada, regular first day stuff. Miss Kiki tells the kids that the principal has a new rule. Teachers are not allowed to hold classwork against the students. Classwork, homework, tests, anything against students in their final grade. They will be doing tests and classwork and homework, but it's not allowed to affect their final grade. So Nyla, Xavier, and Abby hear this, and they all have three very different reactions to this news. Nyla says, this is after class, at recess, says to the other two, what, how do we not, why would we do the classwork then? If it doesn't affect our final grade, there's no point in doing the classwork. We should not do the classwork. It's a pointless waste of time to do the classwork. We should not do it. I'm not doing the classwork because there's no point to it. If it's not going to do anything for me at the end of the year, why do it at all? Xavier hears this and he says, no, like just because it doesn't end up on your final grade doesn't mean that it's completely pointless. I'm going to do it because I like Miss Kiki. She's cool. And if she puts in some effort into making assignments for us, I'm going to do them. Just because. Now, Abby hears both of them and she thinks, nah, it's too good to be true. Way too good to be true. So she says to the two, what if our classwork, homework, and tests do matter? What if they do matter? And the other two look at her confused. Like why would she just lie? That makes no sense. But Abby continues and she says, No. She didn't say that we're not going to have a final grade, so clearly something determines our final grade. And the way we find out our final grade is by participating in the class, because that's what a class is. We should do the homework and the classwork and do good on the tests because it will affect our final grade. It would be insane to hand it out and have it have zero effect. So I'm going to be doing the homework and the classwork and the tests because it will affect my final grade. So that's the end of my allegory. So the point was, if you couldn't piece it together, Miss Kiki stands for Kierkegaard. Yeah, that's why it's Kiki. It's a little cute. Nyla's nihilism. Xavier's existentialism. Abby is absurdism. Nyla, being a nihilist, is not going to do it because there is no point to do it. She sees no reasonable outcome. There's nothing that doing the homework gives her, so she's just not going to do it. Now, Xavier and Abby agree to do the homework because they know that is what, they don't know, but existentialists and absurdists both believe that you should not care about what you do on this planet and in this universe. It's just that their reasonings for doing something differ slightly. And that is that. Albert Camus wrote a book called The Plague. In the beginning of this summer, around when the quarantine began, it started to have a resurgence because the themes and the story and the message in the book really started to apply to current times. The plague, if you couldn't tell, is about a plague that ravaged the city. And before the city became what it is, absolutely ravaged by this plague, there were many signs that there was clearly something wrong, and people just ignored it. They didn't really address it until like it was irreversible. They even denied that there was a plague in the first place, and whenever there was a sick person, they would just hide them. They'd ignore it. They just ignored it and ignored it and ignored it until it was too late. And eventually, once the plague passed, they went right back to what they did before the plague occurred, and this plague came back one day. And the story repeats, so to say. This isn't just applicable to the way that we've handled the coronavirus, it's also very applicable to the way we're dealing with global warming and climate change. It is not a problem for many people. Many people, even if they believe it's real, aren't really acting with great urgency because honestly it just doesn't affect them. It won't affect them, it won't affect their kids. Maybe it'll affect their grandkids. And that's just too far away for most people, me included. Yeah, it's a bad thing. Yeah, we should definitely be taking measures to cut down our impact on the environment. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know exactly what we can do to fix it or what we've even done to cause it. But I've seen people smarter and more knowledgeable than me explain that there is definitely a problem. There is a consensus in the scientific community. There's a consensus in the climate scientist community. It's a problem. We need to address it. Will we? No. But we should. We really should. And Albert Camus, decades and decades ago, saw that as humans, we don't fix problems unless we can directly see how bad it can get. Which kind of reminds me about, it's completely off topic, but somewhat on topic. There's this thing called the 1619 Project. It's this idea where we should not teach U.S. history starting from July 4th, 1775, because it's excluding a whole bunch of context. Instead, we should start in 1619, when the first slave arrived on North American soil. Many people on the right have a problem with this, which is just, it's a little strange. I mean, it makes sense to me. Most high school teachers don't even teach U.S. history starting in 1775 anyways, because that would be a stupid place to start. You're just ignoring the whole beginning to the Revolutionary War. Just gonna ignore that? No, that's dumb. So yeah, you have to, at the very least, we can agree that we should not be starting at 1775. And 80 years after the Revolutionary War, right, 80? 90-ish, there was a little civil war, about slavery. People were willing to secede, willing and did secede from the Union to keep slavery. You should probably explain why it was really important and how it affected the economy and agriculture in North America and the colonies. So, why not start in 1619 when we were just British colonies? It just makes sense to start there. And I feel like people who don't want to start there want to downplay the effect of slavery in America, which is come on now, it's very, very, very intertwined into the fabric of America. Without slavery, this country would not be exactly where it is today. But I digress. The reason I brought up the 1619 Project is because America has a habit of not addressing problems until it's absolutely necessary. In 1775, when we were, well, not 1775, whenever, around there, when we were writing our little constitution, the northern states and the southern states colonies at the time, could not agree on what to do about slavery. The northern states thought, we don't need it, let's not have it, it's bad. Southern states said, no, we won't join. So they came to a compromise. Well, I mean, the reason the North didn't want them is because with slaves, the South would have way more people, because of the slaves, and they would have a much higher population, which would allow them to dominate voting situations and whatnot. And the North did not think that that was fair because black people weren't humans. So they came to a compromise, very popular in America. They came to a compromise, the 3/5 compromise. Every black person was worth 3/5 of a regular person. Later on, there was the Missouri Compromise, which led to some bloodshed in Missouri. And eventually was a big catalyst in the Civil War. So yeah, even the founding fathers knew slavery, big problem. But let's just kick it down the road. We don't want to deal with it, or else we won't have a country. So let's just ignore it. Not ignore it, but let's just compromise. Kick it down the road a little bit. And that happened regularly for 90 years. And then we couldn't really ignore it anymore because we were expanding westward. Northern states did not like the fact that the South had so many slaves. So, war started, blah, blah, blah. Abraham Lincoln says, we're going to lose the war if the South gets allies. So, let's turn this into a war against slavery. And boom, South doesn't get any allies. Slaves are free. They aren't really free for like another year, which is the origins of Juneteenth. That's that. America, and humans in general, can't really blame America for it. Humans in general have a problem with avoiding problems that can be avoided. Like, yeah, avoiding them will make them bigger problems, but hey, it's not our problem right now. So let's just kick it down the road. And this human tendency is pretty bad because for the most part, all of our problems, at the worst, could have been solved with a war. Can't really solve global warming with a war unless we find another planet and we go fight some aliens for it, which is not going to happen. But hey, I won't be around to figure it out. I'll be long dead. Alright. And that is the end of my very first episode. This has been a guy and his closet. I hope you guys enjoyed my very first episode, and I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys had fun listening to it. Come back next time, and I'll have a bunch of other stuff to show you. Until then, Peace.